Hey kids, it's Casey Kidd here talking no subs, no dubs. I got an exciting episode for you. An exciting podcast episode. A Soviet Union movie, Russia after there was Russia, and then before there was New Russia. There was the Soviet Union. This is a comedy movie. It's Kidnapping, Caucasian Style, right? And I watched it on YouTube, and it was like 11 million views. Oh, holy smokes. So I was expecting something pretty good. And, but before all that, let's get to the shout-out section. Let's do this real quick. I have a shout-out today. There's a channel on YouTube called Greater Creators. It's only a little more than 1,000 subscribers, and the videos are pretty good. I watched a few on Kubrick. There's an Alan Moore video too, and a Dune video, right? It's this lady with this pink hair and a pretty cool tattoo on her right arm, I think. And she just talks about, creators and whatnot. So go give that a try, subscribe if you want to. Anyway, enough of that nonsense. If you don't know what No Subs, No Dubs is, it's just this podcast where I watch these, what they used to call them foreign films, but now that's insensitive, so they're international films. I watch these international films without subtitles, obviously, and overdubbing, and I try to decipher it for you. I try to decipher these movies and give them a nice little review rating at the end of it, and plug patreon.com/nosubsnodubs. So I already did the plug, but I might have to plug it again later. One second. I'm going to have to take a smart water break. I took a drink earlier, but hear that baka boy? Yeah. I'm going to put this at the end, aren't you? Smart water, because I refuse to drink any of that dumbass water. It's just a choice, right? So hopefully this won't be too sounding like I'm moving papers around too much. I wrote it by hand, the notes. I wrote the notes by hand, so let's see if I can even read my own handwriting. No subs, no dubs. We don't watch movies with subtitles. We don't watch them with dubs. That's the deal here. And then I try to review it and speak on the movie with spoilers aplenty, or some sort of version of spoilers, what I could make out from watching the movie. I could make of the movie itself without, understanding the language, because I can barely speak English, let alone know any. I don't think I know any sort of Russian word. I think I've gone long enough to not even talk about the movie, so let's get into it. Movie. It was called Kidnapping, Caucasian Style. Because there's different styles. White style kidnapping is apparently a comedy. Very, I wouldn't say very funny. Funny moments. And if you're going to be kidnapped, this movie kind of purports that Kidnapping Caucasian Style is you're going to have like 3 goons running around hitting each other in the head like the Stooges. I'm going to call them the Russian Stooges in this. It's all physical comedy, right? It's like the 60s or 70s or whatever. So it's all about hitting people in the head and whatnot. There's a scene later on in the movie. The Stooges are stuck in a room, and they grab one of the Stooges. The 2 others grab this one dude, and they keep hitting him against the wall, like his head against the wall. I'm like, yeah, that's classic. That's the classic hit the door with your friend's head technique to try to get out of the room. But that's not how it starts. It starts off with pretty good title scene music thing. The music's pretty good throughout, I'm not going to lie. And the music's going and stuff, and then we see this Opie guy. I'm going to call him Opie. He's Russian Opie, right? And he's on an ass. A donkey. Alright, Baka Boy, cut that out. please. I can't have me saying ass when I meant donkey. So he's on this donkey, and he's just, going down the gravel road, and he sees this hospital military van looking thing, and it's having vehicle troubles. It's not going, and there's this guy out there, and the guy out there is the Fedora Boy, right? We've got Opie on his donkey, and there's Fedora Boy, and he's working on his hospital vehicle, and the donkey has troubles too. And the donkey starts breaking down, so Opie has to get off of the donkey and start fixing the donkey, and they're both fixing their vehicles. It's kind of ridiculous. This has a lot of, the editing is like sped up in certain spots and really kind of quick. It's an older movie, but the way they do some of those tricks are kind of funny. So they're working on their respective vehicles, and the donkey seems to be not doing very well, and they kick the tire of the vehicle and whatnot. And then there's this, I'm calling her short-haired stunner chick. She walks into the scene. This short-haired stunner chick, or a Soviet manic pixie girl, dream girl, right? She's there. She comes in, and Opie and Fedora Boy both are looking at her all agape, right? They're just gazing at this very pretty woman, and she walks by them, and the vehicle that was being worked on, the hospital vehicle, starts up immediately and starts following her, and the donkey, who refused to walk, just starts following her. And I'm like, that's someone should steal that bit for a movie for America. That's funny. And they're driving along because the Fedora Boy gets back in his vehicle and drives off. He's like, my vehicle's working. The magic lady, magic lady walked by it, and now it wants to go. And Opie gets on his donkey, and he follows right behind. Is it a donkey or is it a mule? I'm gonna go with donkey. Might be mule though. Anyway, just that little break. He gets on his muley. I'll call it a muley. He gets on his muley and follows the lady around. I guess they're going the same way, but she gets a little weirded out, so she runs away. But he follows her, which is not good. You don't really do that. But then they have some sort of weird cute meat situation. I'm like, aw. And then she likes his ass. I mean, his donkey. I mean, the muley, right? So she likes the muley. And then Russian Opie goes to a hotel after this thing. It's kind of interesting. And he drinks a lot. He drinks and drinks. And there's this little speech with him drinking with Hotel Sauvier. That sounds like a word, right? There's a Sauvier, okay? And they have a speech and they do salute and stuff. And Opie doesn't handle his liquor like he should. And then we see this big mustache man. And what I'm calling the nose, this guy has an unfortunate face. He's got a nose for a face, and everything else is pulled down by gravity. He's one of these old, dice player-looking people, like mafiosos, and I'm calling him the nose. And Big Mustache Man's with him, and they have a cute meet with the stunner lady, but it's not really a cute meet because I think they already know who she is. Maybe not. I don't know. But they have a cute meet, and stunner lady. The stunner lady, I'm gonna cut it down to just stunner because I can't say short-haired stunner, manic pixie dream girl every single time. Okay. Then there's another toast with Opie there, and Opie's crying. There's a Russian Robin Williams scene where he's selling chicken on sticks. Okay. And I was like, oh, that's right. It's Soviet era Robin Williams. Okay. And then the big mustache man and the nose make some speech to a bunch of people, and there's a lot of pomp and circumstance and all that stuff. So it's moving along pretty quick, right? Stunner lady. She gets honored after this speech for being a stunner, for having short hair and being cute, I guess. And Opie at this point he sees the speech, But he's like a drunken buffoon at this point. He becomes a drunk idiot and kind of makes a donkey out of himself. And there's like a shame meeting afterwards. Like, why'd you do that? And where's your mule key? We need your mule key. I think they talk about the mule key a lot. But everything's good. There's a bedroom talk after that, too. Between, I think it's the Mustache Man or something. I didn't write it down. I was trying to, figure out the people. But they have a talk, too. And they're like, no more drinks, No more drinks. And a waiter man comes in. He's like, no. This guy can't hold his liquor. And then the Russian Three come to town. Now, the Russian Three are the Stooges. So they're the Soviet Stooges, right? And there's a big old one. And like one more normal looking one, but he's kind of stupid. And a skinnier one. But the Soviet Stooges are there. And they come to town. Initially, it seems like they want some beer. And then, I don't know. Then the big mustache man is talking to the nose. And they're planning something. They talk for a little while. And they're really getting into whatever plans they got. And big mustache man and the nose slap hands, and it's all good. The nose seems concerned. Now we go back to the Stooges. And there is when the fat man, he's one of the Stooges. He does this whole anti-smoking bit in front of people. He's like smokes a cigarette or something, puts it down and like crushes it and says some Russian stuff about smoking. I don't know. And there's a whole dominoes situation where guys playing dominoes, like Bobby Fischer would play chess with a bunch of people. This guy's like the Bobby Fischer of Soviet dominoes. He's playing dominoes with a bunch of people. I don't know. I thought chess was bigger over there, so I don't know why they chose dominoes. Maybe it's funnier. Then there's this sheep herding scene. Like, one of the Stooges kicks the sheep and stuff. Like, really manhandles it. Like, well, you gotta tell a sheep to get in through the gate. And it's the nose's gate or the big mustache man's gate, and there's this witch lady there or something. Maybe she's the nose's wife. I don't know. It's all kind of like, all right, well, they just they beat up upon a sheep. So is it sheep for one and sheep for many of them? Riddle me that. I don't know. And yeah, they're there. And then we get to the spelunking scene. The stunner chick, short-haired stunner, pixie manic dream girl, Soviet pixie manic dream girl. She's doing spelunking. That's when you fall down a mountain, but you have ropes on, right? And she's doing it with Opie. Opie's ripped. Okay, remember Opie from earlier? He comes back. He's not an alcoholic now. He's like a mountaineer. So they get off from their spelunking adventure. And he's flirting with her, so he's like, I can get into, what are they called? I can get into a sleeping bag very, very quickly, or something. So he gets into a sleeping bag and moves around in it, and then he falls over and rolls down a mountain like a cliffside. It's silly, but it's funny. So he falls down into a river. He's in this river, and he's freaking out because he knows how to spelunk, but he doesn't know how to get out of a sleeping bag and swim or something. So he gets saved by the stunner lady, and she jumps in, and she saves him and pulls him out, and they're both chattering and stuff. There's this whole shivering, chattering scene where you think there's going to be a move made on him. Because this Opie guy, also he has glasses, so he's a nerd. So this Opie egghead dude, who's ripped, you're thinking he's gonna make a move, but he doesn't really make a move at this point. And then there's this bathing suit spying scene where the Stooges have been spying on short-haired stunner chick. So that's interesting. And yeah, she's a stunner, I guess. So they're spying on her in a bathing suit. I'm like, all right. So how Russians do. And I was surprised how it wasn't just a cold wasteland. I was surprised there was a summer there or something. The more you know. So the Russian Stooges are all sneaking around. There's this walk around music and stuff. It's kind of kind of odd. And then Opie, he's there with the stunner chick, and there's like a lime battle where they're throwing limes, but he doesn't know the Stooges are throwing the limes at him. He thinks they're just falling off trees, so he throws them back in the trees, and he keeps hitting the Stooges with the limes that fall off the trees. It's kind of bizarre, but it's funny. And then Opie and the stunner chick, they flirt for a little bit, and, that is what it is. But Opie leaves after that, and the stunner leaves. And what happens is there's this meeting, and that's when the nose is talking to the Stooges, like, you messed up, you didn't get the stunner chick, I think, because it's all about kidnapping, Caucasian style. And they're all like, we're embarrassed. And then there's this thing with the shoe that gets stuck on the floor. One of the Stooges' shoe gets stuck on the floor, and he walks off without it. And they're all like giving him crap about that. They're like, your shoe came off. Don't do that. It's weird. That's what I keep saying in these. It's weird. But it is weird. It's like, what's the deal with this comedy? I don't know why the shoe is stuck and why that's even a thing. Maybe I made it a thing because I noticed it so hardcore that way. There's a situation where Opie eats with the nose at a restaurant. And the three idiots, the three Stooges, come into the restaurant. And they're all dressed up like it's a party. But a costume party, right? So they're all dressed up like one's a pirate, right? And the big guy, I think, is the pirate. There's a really big guy. They have this awkward conversation all together. But I was trying to figure it out because there's a look-alike guy later. Okay? So this might be the look-alike. Because Opie seems upset and he seems different. And there's Opie and then look-alike Opie. You just have to watch it. You just have to watch it. But it gets tense there. And then there's the kidnapping, right? So the spelunking happened, and Opie, real Opie, and Stunner Chick go to like their base camp area, and they're sleeping in this base camp, and look-alike Opie, who got recruited by the nose for looking alike Opie, comes into the base camp area and looks at Opie. One, that's why I knew there's look-alike. And he also steals Stunner Chick, but he like gently takes her with her sleeping bag and gets out of that base camp. And she wakes up and she's like, oh, I know you. And she's like, it's okay, carry me away. And then that's when the three idiots, they all carry her away. And that's not good. They go back to the nose's compound. And the witchy woman, she's there briefly, and then she's kind of gone, and she's not really in this for the rest of it. And then it looks like the look-alike Opie's running, but I think they might have switched the Opies, because you cut, and it might have been the Opie, he might have like woken up or something, but he's running around, and it just doesn't make sense. And then the big mustache man sees him. It's like, drink, right? So he pushes him into a building, and Opie drinks and gets really drunk really fast and has to go to the hospital. Then there's a scene with the big mustache man. He's making a call on one of those phones that don't exist anymore. You put the quarters in those phones. Oh boy. Ugh. I'm tired, Baka boy, and I'm sounding like an idiot, more so than normal. Payphone. He's put money in a payphone and he's talking on it. I didn't know they had payphones in Soviet Russia. I'm learning tons of things. But yeah, he's using a payphone, so it's dating this movie quite a bit. There's the whole, is this Opie or is this look-alike Opie? But he drinks way too hard. He falls down and goes to the hospital, basically. They drag him there. The stunner, now at this point, short-haired stunner chick, she's locked away in the nose's compound. And the nose peeps in while she's sitting there. He's all creepy about it. But I guess it is what it is. Then the Stooges come in one by one. And they're trying to, romance her for some reason. I don't really get it. They play a record, and then they dance around, and they sing to her. And they bring music with the record playing. There's singing and stuff. And they bring her food and do some food tricks. It throwing up bagels and whatnot. And she eats, very excited to eat, because she's in a weird place, so why not eat? Because the food can't be poison at all. You know what I mean? So she ends up dancing with the Stooges, and while they're dancing around, she disappears when a cloth goes up, and it disappears. So she basically runs out of the building, and then she sees the nose and goes, uh-oh, and has to go back in. And this is when she runs. She doesn't really run out of the building. She runs out of the room. When she runs out of the room, she shuts the door, and it pretty much locks behind her, and that's when I was talking about the Stooges were trying to hit their way out with their friend's head. And when she opens the door, they, of course, keep barreling through, and the friend head first, crashes out. I think they're on the second floor, so possibly down to the ground. It is. So she sees the nose and realizes the nose is going to sniff her. So she's like, So she goes back into the room. All right, let's see where we're at now. That's what happens. So she tries to escape and goes back in. Opie's now at the hospital, and they're all convincing him he's like insane, but he's trying to escape, and that's why they're saying you're insane. You're trying to escape. Trust doctors, right? And he's not having a good time. Now it cuts back to Nose talking through the door to Stunner Chick. And it's interesting because he's talking and he's making a point, he's making his case, and you see the big mustache man, and he's all dressed up, and he's got like a platter. So you also hear a bunch of stuff breaking because she's very upset that she's, in her prison and whatnot, which makes sense. And big mustache man's like, it's time for me to go in and wine and dine her. So he brings wine or alcohol or something to go in there, and she breaks all of it. We don't see it. We just see big mustache man wandering back out. And this is when I realized the Nose is definitely working for the mustache man, and he's definitely he's like number 2, and I gotta number 2 kidnap this woman for me, and we're gonna wine and dine her. And it's not working at all. Opie makes some noises at this point and stuff when he's talking to 2 other insane people while they're outside, and he convinces these 2 other insane people who are in the hospital with him. They're all institutionalized, so they don't care about escaping, but he still does. He convinces them to do the teeter-totter escape trick, which is where you have Opie on one side of the teeter-totter, and the other 2 jump on the other side so he can fly over it when he goes over, And that works, I guess, That he's going around and he's looking for his, short-haired Stunner Chick. So he's running around this city, and he sees Fedora Boy, and Fedora Boy's hospital military vehicle rolls up. And they're like, hey, you remember my Mjolky? Yeah. And you remember my vehicle, hospital military vehicle? Yeah. You want to come in and team up? So they do a team up to go get the short-haired girl because she's a stunner. Why not? So what they do is they drive up to the compound, and they're all in doctor garb, and they do the Trojan doctor trick, was when you go through and you got the mask on and stuff. I think they had a COVID mask back then for that scene specifically. And they go in, and then the 3 Stooges meet them, and they give the Stooges butt shots. And the big Stooge, the big Soviet Stooge, they give a butt shot to him, but it's like a big syringe because he's big. So they have a little one, they get a bigger one because he's a big old fat guy. And they push it in and get stuck, so they gotta, use leverage with their foot to push it, pull the syringe out. It's a pretty funny scene, not gonna lie. That one's a good one. And then Opie goes up and finds the Stunner Lady, while Fedora Boy is just talking to the guys he gave butt shots to. As you do, just talk around to them like, your butt's numb, right? good. Opie tries to help the stunner chick. She gets very upset. She, like, attacks at him and then sees that it's him and is happy that it's him. And then they open the door. Opie opens the door and she does like a, Donkey Kong swing. She does a Donkey Kong swing from the second floor out. And she's swinging out and she gets into the hospital military vehicle and steals it and drives off. And then the Stooges get up from their butt, like, being all fuzzed out and whatnot, and they get in the vehicle and drive after her. So it's a chase scene. And then Opie and Fedora Boy get in a barrel, right? More Donkey Kong stuff. They get into a barrel and they chase after her in like this wheeled barrel situation. So there's a bit of stuff when it comes to the chase. And it's almost over at this point. You have to have the chase near the end of it. And it's a pretty good one. There's vegetable throwing back and forth between the barrel guys and the Stooges. Alright. There's like a brief crash or stop or something. And then the stunner girl, she gets out of her vehicle. She runs around. They chase after her. The Stooges chase after her. And there's a black bear situation. You know how it goes. You see the black bear, everyone runs the other way kind of thing. Opie and Fedora Boy and their barrel gets like an oil slick kind of situation. Not really, and the barrel slips and breaks against the river, and Opie and Fedora Boy fly all the way up to a tree and grab it. So they're good on the tree limb, and they're running around and stuff. And finally, at the end of the chase, what happens is the Stooges get a hold of short-haired stunner chick. But while they're driving, Opie's behind him because he's found a horse, so he's going full horsepower behind them. And the Stooges all fall asleep. Fat Stooge is in the front driving, but he falls asleep. The other two who are next to the stunner chick, they fall asleep. And it's a very dangerous situation because everyone falls asleep and the guy driving is asleep. And that vehicle crashes. And by this point, she's all tied up, but Three Stooges aren't really a problem at this point. They're passed out. And they're passed out because they're butt shot. But the weird thing is the butt shot took so long for it just to work. It really did. I would expect a faster butt shot. But you get what you get. And you don't throw a fit. Right? So there's a crash. Opie ends up kind of saving short-haired stunner chick. He helps her out of her ropes, which it looks like a BDSM master with rope master tied her up. Not these stooge idiots, but whatever. He helps her out with getting like an arm free, and then they fight for a bit. She's mad. She's like, why didn't you know? I met you 2 days ago. Why didn't you just save me immediately or something like that? And he's like, I don't know. And then they kiss. They do a couple's kiss, and it's like, oh. Right? And then the end of it, like the tone changes almost completely to a horror thing. There's ballet playing, and we're in Big Mustache Man, his like apartment building. And he's all scared, and a bird flies in and makes like a ruckus. And the ballet music is very loud, and the lights go out and stuff. And Stunner Chick is sitting in the chair he was sitting in. She just appears, and she makes an angry kiss, like, at him. And at this point, Big Mustache Man, he's very concerned. He runs because he sees Opie and Fedora Boy, and they got guns, and they have some sort of talk. But Big Mustache Man's not going to have this talk very long. So he runs toward a window, and he gets butt shot. They shoot him in the butt, and he falls out the window. And I was like, oh no, they killed him. All right, cool. But he falls out the window, and then like the next scene is a trial, and he's there, and the nose is there, and the Three Stooges are there, so they get tried for kidnapping. And then the end of it is Opie and the stunner chick leave. She leaves on a bus, and then he follows along with his mulkey. And that's pretty much it. That was Kidnapping Caucasian Style. And that was essentially what I got out of it. Hopefully, someone out there enjoys this. If the movie was pretty good, I'll give it a review of probably, I don't know, a hard 3 or so. It was at times really good, really funny little bits and pieces of it, but other bits is like, alright, this is just kind of zany and wacky, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's just one of those, this is old people humor, old Soviet people humor. Music was pretty good, and it was better than that French movie, so Soviets have better humor than that one, I guess. But I found out that other movie was not really a classic, and this might be, maybe, I don't know. It didn't feel like a classic, but it had 11 million views on YouTube if you want to watch it. So I found it an enjoyable movie to watch. It was pretty funny. The Soviet short-haired manic pixie chick lady, very cute. So I guess that's why everyone was chasing after her and trying to kidnap her. I don't know. They wanted their own Soviet manic pixie girl. And yeah, that is what it is. It was a kidnapping movie, but white people style, Caucasian style. And that's how they kidnap in Russia, apparently, with a lot of like gags and stuff. Let me know what you think. Yeah, it's patreon.com/no subs, no dubs. It's $2 a month. Would definitely appreciate if you guys would fork up some money if you enjoy this content. And it's one episode a week. That's barely 50 cents a show. As Dan Carlin always said, $1 a show. I'm cutting that in half. 50 cents a show. Maybe I do even more shows. It'll be 20. No. Let's not see that. And I'm saying that like as there might not be a show every single week. I don't know about the commitment we're getting into, Baka Boy, but 50 cents a show for now is not too bad. Yeah, and then I got a Twitter now. We got a Twitter, right? The Twitter is twitter.com/no subs, no dubs pod. Because no subs, no dubs was already taken, apparently. So we had to do pod at the end of it. And just find that there. Typically just going to tweet out, hey, this is an episode that's out there if you want to watch. Maybe do some polls or something like that. Or what movie whoever's following would they like me to review or spoil, you know? Alright, that's about it. I'm Casey Kidd, the Kamikaze Kid, blown up all over this bitch. Take it away, Baka Boy. Maybe Smirnoff. Speaking of a Smirnoff, I did my Yakov Smirnoff. I was looking for him. I was watching for Yakov, and I don't think he shows up in this movie, right? So anytime I watch a Russian movie, I'll keep looking out for Yakov, seeing if he's going to throw a joke or two in there. This is a comedy, so I was pretty surprised I didn't see Yakov making like in Soviet Russia.